Hi y'all, it's Andrea and we're here in the sewing studio, but in just a moment I'm going to take you out to my car so I can show you what we will be sewing today. I have a very clever handmade gift idea that is perfect for guys and girls of all ages, including the kiddos. So, shall we go see? It's called a car hammock. And this is made from polyester spandex fabric, which my friends over at Big Duck sent. I want to send a huge thank you to them. This fabric is awesome. It's really light and super soft, yet very durable. And it's absolutely perfect for this project. You're going to need a little less than a yard of this. It's 54 inches wide, so it's a little longer than your quilting cottons. And then you're going to need some 3/4 inch elastic, and that's it. And you too could have a car hammock, which by the way I think makes a wonderful gift for guys and girls alike of all ages, because even the kids would appreciate a car hammock so they could put their little toys and things in when they're in the back seat. So shall we get started? Okay, so for this project, you are going to need a knit polyester fabric that has some significant stretch in it. This fun print is from Big Duck Canvas, and it is their spandex polyester. You can also get this fabric in a white and then sublimate any design directly on it. So that gives you a lot of options. So you're going to need just under a yard of fabric here. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the measurements. I have 2 cuts of this fabric that are 35 inches long by 31 inches wide. This polyester, I believe, comes in 54 inch length off the bolt there. So you can see it's a really whimsical print. It's got a lot of mushrooms and some blueberries, and it's going to be really cute for this season. So you're going to need 2 rectangular cuts of your polyester fabric, and you're going to be positioning those right sides facing. And the polyester is, of course, slinky, so don't worry if your cuts aren't exactly perfect. We're using a really generous 1/2 inch seam allowance with this because the knit fabric has such significant stretch. We need to use a zigzag stitch. A serger would be optimal. However, I recognize that not everyone has access to a serger. So as long as you have a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, you will be just fine. So position your 2 rectangles right sides facing. Set up your machine to your zigzag stitch. You don't want that too narrow, and you also don't want that too long. So on my machine, I have it set at 3.0, and then I'm going to bump up to 2.5. So the 3.0 is the actual width of the zigzag, and the 2.5 is the length of the stitch. And I'm just working with a 90-14 needle and some actually cotton thread. Polyester thread would be better, but the first one, my prototype, I made with a cotton thread and I had no problem. So in addition to this polyester fabric, you are going to be needing 3/4 inch to 1 inch ribbed elastic. So you want that really sturdy elastic, and I have approximately 26 inches of that. The length of your elastic is going to vary depending upon your car. So Perhaps you should start with a little more elastic because you can always trim that up. And I'm just going to cut this elastic into 2 even pieces. And this is actually what we'll thread through the channels that we're going to make, or the gusset, and how it will attach to the car seats. So I'm going to begin by stitching with my zigzag stitch and a 1-inch seam allowance across both short edges. I'm going to leave the long edges open, and you can pin or clip if needed. This is a reasonable size cut of material, so I'm just going to go ahead and freehand this. You do want to back stitch at the beginning and the end. So I have my zigzag stitch across that first short edge. Now I want to turn that over to the opposite side, and I'm going to zigzag down the second short edge. And now I have my second short edge stitched. And the next step in this process is to turn your fabric around to the right side. So it's kind of like an infinity scarf at this point. So you want to keep those side seams lined up nice there. Or I should say, you want to keep those seams at the side as straight as possible. Don't over handle the fabric at this point. Then you're going to take your fingers and turn the material along the long edges inward approximately an inch, and go ahead and line that up nice and straight and clip those edges or pin them. Clips are preferable for this. And I have my clips from my friend Catherine when she sent me this Sew Your Bag kit, and they happen to match this material perfectly. So I'm just going to put a few clips there to keep that fabric nice and straight, and then I'm going to turn this around and do the same thing with the opposite long edge. And then what we're going to do is mark 1.5 inches down from each side. I'm just going to put a clip there. So I have a 1.5 inch span from the top of the clip to the edge. And I'm going to start stitching 1.5 inches down. I'm going to back stitch to reinforce, and I'm going to go all the way to the opposite end, stopping 1.5 inches from that edge. I'm going to repeat that process on the other side, and this opening here is going to become the channel through which we'll thread the elastic. So again, using the zigzag stitch, that's very important, because if you use a straight stitch for this, it will pop. Now you can stitch right along that folded edge, so that works out to be about 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. That should capture all 4 layers, because remember, you turn this in an inch. So I have my first hem in on one of the long edges. Now I'm going to turn this around and put in the remaining hem. Same process, bumping down 1.5 inches using the zigzag and the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And now I have both of my hems in place. The next step is going to be to stitch from that 1.5 inch stopping point all the way across to meet up with the opposite stopping point, and that's going to create that channel in the top that we're going to fold the elastic through. So if you have a chalk pencil, you can use a ruler and draw that straight stitch line, or you can work with your seam allowance guides on your machine. So mine is coming in right at 1.5 inches or 40 on this Janome Skyline machine. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my seam allowance guide here and practice stitching straight. If you wobble just a bit, it's not the end of the world. It will still be fine. You just absolutely could not come in more than the width of your elastic. So again, I'm going to start off going forward and then do a little back stitch to reinforce and do my best to maintain that 1.5 inch seam allowance from end to end. Okay, I have that first gusset in place and my seam allowance looks really good on that. So I'm going to repeat that process for the last end there. 1.5 inches from the edge, end to end, using that zigzag stitch and reinforcing at the beginning and the end. And again, that seam allowance looks great. I just want to show you with the zigzag stitch, you can go ahead and pull on that fabric and the stitches do not pop. If you were to use a straight stitch, all of those stitches would have popped and then your elastic gusset would be basically useless. So it is really important when you're working with this stretch polyester that you do use a zigzag stitch. So even if you were able to serge your interior seams, which would be totally fine, you would still need to employ the zigzag or a stretch stitch coming across this hem, which is going to become the channel for the elastic. So one of the reasons I selected this Big Duck polyester spandex is it is lightweight and soft, super soft. So this is a piece which can be folded up and then stored. It would be really cute to sew a little case for this, especially if it's going to become a gift. It is also machine washable, which would be very handy. So now the next step is to take the 2 cuts of 3/4 inch elastic, which in my case are about 12.5 inches long, and I have 2 of those. Then I'm going to use a large safety pin to thread this through the gusset, and you want to take care not to lose the free end there. Okay, so once you can see the end of the elastic, you can remove that safety pin. Then move your fabric to the center of the elastic. Try not to twist it, and you're going to line up those raw ends and you're going to zigzag back and forth across there a couple of times. I don't recommend that you trim away the excess elastic. So this is the part that's going to fit over the headrest and create that canopy styling. So we need to repeat that process with the opposite end. Okay, and then this is the end that will go around the second headrest. So I drive a Honda Accord, and this fits perfectly around my headrest on the back and the front seat, and then it creates this nice little hammock where I can put my essentials and they're not sliding around the back seat, the floorboards, under the seats, making a bunch of noise. They're nice and accessible. When I open up the rear door, I could just reach right in. I can see what I have. So I'm going to take you out to the car and show you how to install your car hammock. Again, I want to mention, if you have a little extra fabric, making a little coordinating case to go with this would be adorable. And then when the car hammock is not in use, you can fold that right up and put it in its case just like you would a real hammock. Hey guys, welcome to the inside of my car. Okay, so we made it out to the car. It just started raining, so I gotta work quickly here. I have my elastic end. I'm gonna just feed that right around the headrest. And again, I have a Honda Accord, and this is a snug but perfect fit. You don't want it too loose because then your hammock will droop. The first one that I made, the elastic was too long. Then same thing, you stretch that over to the rear headrest, and you have a little bit of leeway obviously because you can adjust your front seat. And again, that just fits right over. And then the weight of the contents will weigh this down. And I think I would like to move the front seat back just a bit. And that seems to be a good fit. Then I have my necessities that I like to keep in the car. So I keep a little extra jacket. So I could put that right there in the middle. I like to keep an umbrella. Put that closer to the edge. I always have tissues. And I'm going to put those towards the top so that when I'm in the driver's seat, I could just reach back and find those. And then I always keep this little baseball bat. I've never had to use it. I think my husband actually gave this to me, but it's in the car in case I need it, right? It's kind of silly, but my car has always had it. So I'll keep my little baseball bat in the hammock as well. And if anything, you know, I would probably use this. You know how you see in those infomercials if you have an emergency and you need to break the glass on your car. So that's how my little bat might come in handy. And then the contents can just ride like it's like an air ride for your contents. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please do me a favor and give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. We have a few more videos in our ongoing handmade holiday gift and decor series here at Sewspire. I am hoping to give you all a tour of our new home so I can show you what kind of holiday decor I put in place. This year I went with a really simplistic theme and I love it. So I'll let you have a look around the house. So we have room for 2 more projects. If you have any special requests, just drop those down in the comments and I'll be happy to try to accommodate those. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season and that I'll be seeing images of your car hammocks real soon using hashtag Sewspire on Instagram and Facebook. I want to wish you a wonderful week and I'll see you next week with another inspired project. See you then, everyone. Have an awesome week. Thank you for sewing with me.